Welcome on back. It's Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. It's the #1 tennis betting podcast brought to you in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sportsbook. It's the Australian Open round 2 in the men's draw. I'm delighted to say, looking ahead to it is our senior ATP Tour handicapper and a good friend of mine, Mr. Sean Calvert. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm all right.
Here we
I think.
Here we go. Here we go. What's happened now?
Just the ups and downs of life. Yeah, the old digestive system isn't fully in order today. But the good news is my tooth is back in situ in the correct place where it should be after 6 visits to the dentist. So everyone that was kind of, their lives were on hold. They're just sort of thinking, well, what? And I've got work to do, but I really want to know what's happened with Sean's tooth. I mean, I imagine that runs into the dozens of people that were interested in that. So for now, it's back in there where it should be.
We couldn't sleep in this house. Everyone was worried about you.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was very serious. I was more worried about your bank balance than your tooth, to be fair.
Well, I paid for this ages ago. Obviously, the subsequent visits just come under the original fee. He's not charging me every time I go back because it's obviously his fault. In fact, he said it's the first time that any crown has ever come out, any permanent crown has ever come out once it's been in. So I'm a record breaker as far as he's concerned. But he's on very thin ice. I might have to sack him, I think. If he's watching this show, this comes out again, mate, and you're done.
The crown never slips from your head as far as the king of the handicapping, though, in the tennis world. It's a bit of a poor start, though, yesterday. Bit of a poor start, wasn't it, round 1? It was like, but
I think we were unlucky, really unlucky with them 2 bets that we had. The Felix one, over 10.5 in the first set. It was over 10.5 in the sets 2, 3, and 4. And Fuchsovich, any of the other bets that people would have taken on Fuchsovich, apart from the one I went for, would all have landed. He won the first set. A tiebreak away from winning the 2 sets that we needed. It went the way that I suggested it would, which was a tough test for Dimitrov. In the end, Fuchsovich faded physically, but the 2 matches went the way that I suggested that they would. The results didn't come, and we had a couple of voids as well, didn't we?
Couple of voids. I'll tell you the one thing I did notice on round 1: 30 of the 32 seeds, only 2 seeds eliminated in round 1. That's a very high ratio, isn't it? A lot of seeds going through, a lot of favourites winning on round 1.
According to my data, only 13 underdogs won in round 1. That's the fewest since 2019. So that's 20%. So 1 in 5 underdogs winning. And the ones that did win, some of them were, you just wouldn't. I looked at them this morning. I was like, well, what did I miss here? And I don't think I really missed that much. Several of them won in final set tiebreaks, didn't they? Kaboli was a big one that beat Jarry. Jarry served for the match. You wouldn't expect him to, with his serve, in reasonable conditions to lose that one. Bublik must have tanked it against Nagal. Summit Nagal, that is. You wouldn't expect that. Several others, he just on the data, on the stats, there was no, and even on a field point of view, I don't think there was any real basis for backing them. Obviously, you do get underdog winners in majors. Sometimes they just don't make any sense, and I didn't think many of them made sense in round 1. But it's a tough one, isn't it? 20%. As I said, all along, it's not easy backing underdogs in majors.
No, before we go on to look at today's matches, we record this on Tuesday lunchtime over in the UK. So the matches we played throughout the night over across the stateside. So we're going to look at Tuesday's matches. But this is our 200th show, believe it or not, on Betting Weekly Studios. Show number 200 is a bit of a milestone for us. That's across all the shows, the tennis, the WTA tennis, and all the soccer as well, and all the other special shows. That's show number 200. So thank you for everyone who's watched the shows. 200 since we moved across to our standalone YouTube channel, which was in July. And we're just short of 2,000 subscribers. So if you like the shows, please give us a subscribe and get us up to 2,000 subscribers to sort of celebrate our 200 shows. So show number 200. Let's go out in some style. Let's get some big winners here, Sean. We want at least bet plus 200 to cash for our 200 show.
I have got a big bet today. It's a big old bet.
What we like to hear.
I'll talk about it in a second. Go on, carry on with what you're doing.
Yeah, just saying show number 200. So it's a bit of a milestone. So thank you for everybody who's watched all the shows or any of the shows and commented. Please keep the comments coming. Any questions you have for myself and Sean. But most importantly, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We want 2,000 subscribers to celebrate our 200th show. Before we go on to tomorrow's matches, Sean, in round 1, who was the takeout for you? Was there anyone you thought, oh, he looks good, or God, if he plays like this, is going to be? I mean, Djokovic obviously struggled massively in set 1. He was broken many times. Didn't look at his best at all, and he's a bit of an uneasy favourite in the market. Was there anyone that you thought, oh, this boy's going to take some beating here?
I didn't think Alcaraz looked that good either. Just now, his match has finished a couple of hours ago. He should have dropped the opening set to Gasquet. Looked very, very edgy. Alcaraz. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened if Gasquet had won that first set. He had his chances in typical Gasquet style, but he was never going to do anything, was he? After he lost that opening set 7-6, he might as well have just finished the match then. But no, so not great from Alcaraz. They've all done well enough. I don't think anyone's kind of made me scurry for my notepad and sort of jot down a name. No, not really.
No, I thought Sinner played well, obviously, but he does what he's got beaten before when he's been a heavy favourite. I thought he played quite well.
I didn't think he was that great. I didn't think he was at his best, to be honest, but it was good enough against Van der Zandschulp. I don't think anyone's really.
Well, I'd say he had the toughest first round opponent, didn't he?
Van der Zandschulp could have been a tougher first round opponent, but the first round, I don't think many players, if you ask them, are that bothered how they play in the first round as long as they get through, as long as it's not a 5-hour marathon, they just sort of edge through. Like a Rublev, for example, he had the fright of his life, didn't he, against Thiago Seyboth Wild. But I think as long as they get through it, they're reasonably happy. I mean, Djokovic wasn't great at all, but
no,
we'll see.
Let's have a look at the outright market prices now with BetRivers. Head to the BetRivers website. You'll be able to get all the outright prices. The market will be suspended this evening around about 7 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want to bet on the Australian Open winner market, you have from now until 7 p.m. to get your bet down, your wager down. Novak Djokovic was even money to win the tournament. He's now pushed out to plus 110 after that sort of far from impressive performance in round one. Alcaraz is now plus 320. Sinner is $6. Medvedev, our pick, is $9. Zverev at 25. Minaur at 33. Rune 33. Dimitrov at 40. Rublev 50. Tsitsipas at 50. Shelton at 50. And Hurkacz at 70 to 1. Novak Djokovic is probably the talking point here. I mean, I asked you a question before. Would you take Djokovic or would you take the whole of the field at even money? That was the question that you were asking. I was chatting to a guy who is probably best left nameless, who was a big tennis bettor, and he was chatting to me on social media, and he was chatting to me, and he's convinced that Alcaraz is carrying an injury. He wouldn't go into too much detail, but he's convinced that Alcaraz is a fake, and he reckons Djokovic we know Djokovic's stories of his injury. We know he had injuries and concerns coming it, but he reckons Djokovic isn't right as well, and he wants to take on the top two. Do you think that's a decent betting strategy, or it's probably not a betting strategy you want to have done over the years in Australia with Djokovic winning 10 titles here? But on the evidence of what we've seen in round one, I think the gap between Sinner, Medvedev, and those two is a lot closer than those odds suggest.
I think it depends on the strength of the information. He's obviously got this info from somewhere. If you've got very strong information that Alcaraz is injured and Djokovic is injured from a very reliable source, then by all means take them on. I haven't got that information. But if you have that belief, then the best thing to do is take them on. And as I said at the start of the tournament, I think the best person to take them on with, on the stats certainly, is Medvedev.
I think the trouble is with Djokovic, we've seen it all before, haven't we? I mean, we've seen it
all
so
the
many
time.
times.
Pretty much every major. Pretty much every major. As I said before, I think he does it deliberately to take pressure off himself. I'm not saying he invents the injuries, but I think he plays them up a little bit, and then asks the press to play them down. The narrative is there, then, isn't it? He's controlling the narrative, and the narrative is, I'm not really fully at my best, and I think that takes the pressure off him. Alcaraz, honestly, don't know. I thought he was all right today against Gasquet, but I couldn't detect any injury. But maybe, as I say, maybe that information is solid and it's come from somewhere.
The guy who told me is pretty well known. No, he's not pretty well known. He's a big bettor, but he would probably have a bit of an inside information that there was some kind of concern. But how much of an injury, I don't know. And obviously the market's still reflecting that Djokovic is plus 110 and Alcaraz is plus 320. I was to say Djokovic has drifted out, but we have seen it so many times where there's injury doubts around the top two in the market, and then they just come through, they just hit another level, and they're just too good. So that's the sort of question mark you have to bet with. I mean, I remember that. Do you remember that match? What wager was it where Djokovic played Taylor? I think it was Taylor Fritz, and he was hobbling around.
Yeah, that was the Australian, I think, wasn't it? Or the US
and he
one,
went on to win the tournament. It was like there's no way he could walk in the match. It was just insane.
Yeah, that was one of the famous ones. Yeah, him against Fritz. Yeah.
That was incredible. Okay, let's move on to some matches for today.
We should talk about the conditions actually before we just get.
Yeah, I was going to ask you the conditions as we go into the matches. So go. Okay. Show me now. Go on, give us the conditions. I mean, the weather forecast is changing, isn't it, over the next few days? So,
it's Melbourne.
What have you got there?
It's Melbourne, so it gets, as I said at the start, it gets a lot. It's so changeable, isn't it? It was 30 odd degrees today. There was players really struggling. 32 degrees, I think it was today. Very, very tough conditions. 20 degrees. It's supposed to be tomorrow and Thursday and Friday. A bit of rain around on Wednesday, so it's dropping 12 degrees. So that I think that will make a substantial difference to conditions. It will certainly make it slower. No sunshine around, no baking of the courts, bit of rain as well. So it should make conditions easier for the players. It should make it slower. I've got some data in actually from the first 60 matches of the main draw. It's almost identical to previous years, 80% holds and 73% first serve points won, which is pretty much exactly the same as it has been in the previous 4 years on a green set. So I think the takeaway is it's probably been at its quickest as it's going to be, certainly for the first week, and it's going to be a little bit slower the next few days.
So that's going to make a big change, and obviously that might suit some of the players much sorted by the slower conditions. Sort of the clay players may have a bit of an advantage in this, maybe priced up as though it's going to be quick conditions. There's a couple of matches here where you've got big servers against sort of clay quarters that the line may move a little bit in favour of the clay quarter. Let's have a look at round two. Then we're going to start off with one of those sort of, I'd say he's more familiar on clay. It's Lorenzo Musetti, the Italian. He's up against Van Assche, the talented Frenchman. Musetti come through round one. He beat Bonzi. Van Assche beat the local lad Duckworth in a bit of a marathon match over 5 sets. And Musetti's the favourite here at minus 205. Van Assche is plus 160. They've never met before. The spread is 4.5. Musetti minus 4.5 plus 102. Van Assche receiving 4.5 is minus 130. The total is 37.5. Bet Rivers have currently on their line, they have 39 different markets available on this match. And I guarantee you will not find a more comprehensive amount of betting markets on a tennis tournament than what Bet Rivers will be offering you over the next 2 weeks in Melbourne. I just see this one going. I mean, Musetti should be suited by the conditions, but you've got a quite high premium to pay, minus 205.
Very short. I mean, I'm looking at this draw now of all these underdogs. I find it extremely difficult to make a solid, reliable case for any of them.
Yeah, it looked a really tough day, didn't it? And it does. All the favourites are very heavy, and it's very hard to make a case, as you said.
Yeah, I'm looking at all of them. I've looked at it so many times last night and this morning. I'm trying to find little angles here and there. This one is one of 3 matches that I quite like today that the favourite I think will win, but they will be tested. I don't really like going on the over games unless I've got a solid reason to do it. But if you look at this one, there's not a lot between these two players on outdoor hard at main level over the last 12 months. In terms of their service points won and return points won totals, Musetti 100. It's all right, but it's not really befitting of a guy with ideas of being in the top 20. Those numbers aren't good enough. And Van Assche very close on 98, so only 2 points in it on their outdoor hard court statistics. Van Assche has actually won more second serve points than Musetti on this surface, 53% to 51%. It feels like one of those matches that Musetti will have to kind of grind it out. Because when he plays his best, it's great, but he doesn't very often reach those heights. Or if he does, he comes off them and then back on them again. Similar to the Bonzi match in round one, I think this will be. He'll probably win it, but not without a great deal of resistance from the man on the other side of the court. Van Assche is going to make him play a lot of balls. My lean here is 3 sets to 1 Musetti. That's a 3.95 plus 295 chance of Bet Rivers. I think he'll do it, but I think Van Assche will cause him a lot of problems.
So a difficult match up for Musetti, but he will edge through. Favourite bettors have been getting the cash in round one. We think they'll continue in round two. That match starts at 8:15 this evening, Eastern time. So you have plenty of time to get down with Bet Rivers, and the bet that Sean suggested is a small lean for 3 sets to 1 for Musetti at 395. Remember, if you do place a bet with Bet Rivers, you can watch live and bet live with Bet Rivers. You'll be able to live stream the match on your tablet or on your mobile phone or your laptop, whichever one you want to use to watch the match. 8:15 p.m. Come over and work and watch the game. Marozsan against Cerundolo is the next match. Marozsan is minus 167. Cerundolo ended a poor start to the year with a win against Sweeney. Not a convincing win, but he got the win. That match is also 8:15 p.m. today. Marozsan is minus 167. Cerundolo is plus 135. The spread is 2.5, minus 127, giving up 2.5 for Marozsan. Cerundolo receiving 2.5 is even, and the total is 38.5, and it's around about a pick and match on 38.5. The line is minus 114 on over and minus 112 for under. Cerundolo's had a bad run of it late, poor performances against Muller, Dominic Thiem in the exhibition match before the tournament, and in that Sweeney match, he just managed to get through against an opponent that was ranked, I think it was 257 in the world. Marozsan, obviously, we know he's just beat Cilic. He's beaten Alcaraz on clay last year in Rome, a big-time performer, a player who's got a big match in him. He's the unseeded player, but he is the favourite here, and you would think that's about right.
I think it's a bit short on the stats, to be honest with you. Right. As you said, Cerundolo in very poor form, but Marozsan, last 12 months at main level on outdoor hard, there's only 1 point in it in terms of service points won and return points won totals. Marozsan 102. Cerundolo 101. On the service hold and break totals, Cerundolo edges it 104 to 103. So this is just being priced up on the fact that Cerundolo has looked awful so far this season. He's ranked 40 odd places higher, Cerundolo. He's just outside the top 20. It's not often you would get 2.35 plus 135, I think he is, isn't he? Yep. About a guy just outside the top 20 against a much lower ranked opponent. I know Marozsan's got ability. I know he's a big match player. I just think this is very short. I think that this price has moved, hasn't it, from the original line? I think Marozsan was originally priced up around sort of 1.73 or something like that, which I think is a bit more realistic. What is it in a minute? 1.6?
It's minus 167, which is about so it's minus one, it's decimals, 166 around that price.
Yeah, I think he's too short. I think he should be
162. I think 162.
Yeah, he's just over 1.6. It's too short based on the statistics. If you back in Cerundolo, if you're looking for an underdog to back, and let's face it, I certainly am, and I have found it extremely difficult to find one where I can truly say I quite fancy him. This is about as good as it's going to get, I think, on this particular day of this particular bunch of matches. Over games is also likely. They both have very strong return games. I could certainly see this going long, and of course the fact that the temperature is dipped a lot, making it much more playable. There's already been a lot of long matches. This has a feel of a kind of a long one. If Cerundolo finds his old form, that price is very good. The concern is that is Cerundolo's poor form so far this year, is that because of an injury that he's carrying? He hasn't really talked about it yet. It could be. It could be any number of things. I think on the stats, Cerundolo's a hint of value, but the reason I can't press the button is because he's looked so awful this year.
Yeah, so no real. I wouldn't say it's a lean. I'd just say that you would. I think
it's value. Statistically, he's value.
Statistically, it's value, but it's just the current form's put a little bit of a question mark against that plus 135.
Yeah, it's off-putting because I think he might be injured, but I'm not sure what's going on with him.
So we're not going to play. But if you were going to play and you were looking for a bet, Cerundolo could be a little bit of value at the plus 135 on the statistics. Just to let you know, the Just to let you know, Bet Rivers is offering a live profit boost every day of the Australian Open. When you place a wager of at least $25 during a match, you'll receive a 20% profit boost. Limit one per day, every day of the tournament. See the Bet Rivers website for full details on the Australian Open bet and get offer. So there's an offer from Bet Rivers there for in-play bettors, and this one here could be an in-play bet if Cerundolo gets off to a good start and shows that he's not worried, no injury concerns. He could be a bet here at plus 135. Now, the next match here, this is an interesting match to me. I really think this is an interesting game. Taylor Fritz is a very, very heavy favourite here. No surprise, American Sportsbook going very, very heavy on Taylor Fritz. He's a very popular man. He's always bet with the American bettors. He's up against Gaston, who come through as a lucky loser, didn't he? He got his place in the draw because Gojo pulled out. And then he's won his match against Cabas-Mena. And he plays Taylor Fritz here. And Taylor Fritz is not playing well at all. I'm not impressed with Taylor Fritz. I think he's a big price favourite waiting to get beat at some opportunity. Is Gaston the man to do it? I don't know. But the conditions will suit Gaston here. Fritz is minus 835, as I said. Gaston is plus 575. The spread here is a massive 6.5, plus 123 for Gaston, minus 162 for Fritz. And the total is 33.5, which does seem extremely low for a Fritz match to be 33.5, and especially in these slower conditions. Over is minus 118. Of all the matches you sent across to me today, Sean, this was the one that I thought I want to get with the underdog here on the handicap or 3-1, like you might come onto that kind of thing. Or I think getting with Gaston in some capacity other than the money line is the way to go here. You agree with me or disagree?
I'm so tempted to back Gaston here. I
Yeah,
really am.
I think he's massive. I think Fritz is spent, dude.
I just don't trust him. The thing that puts me off Gaston is he's so moody. You know, if he gets off to a bad start, you could see him tanking this. I know it's a Grand Slam, but you know, he lost in qualifying 6-love, 6-2 to Lloyd Harris. He's a similar type of player to Taylor Fritz. But the reason there's a couple of reasons why I quite fancy Gaston doing so. I'm just not sure about Taylor Fritz at the minute. There's a lot of talk going around that he hasn't done a full off season due to the foot injury that he had towards the end of last season. That apparently that's continued until sort of the winter months, and he hasn't really done a full training block. He struggled, didn't he, in his first round against Diaz Acosta as a very, very heavy favourite. Rolled his ankle in that match as well, didn't he? So there's injury concerns aplenty about Taylor Fritz. The slower conditions won't suit him either with these balls that are initially quick and then get very, very slow. And the other thing is Gaston's style. I feel like if he plays his best stuff, Gaston, I think it will unsettle Taylor Fritz. I've said before many times, Fritz is not comfortable up at the net. He likes to be on the baseline, side to side, getting that rhythm. He does not like coming to the net. His volleying is not good. And we know Gaston loves a drop shot. He absolutely loves it. He's got all the shots, Gaston. He won't give Taylor Fritz any rhythm. You know, and Gaston's beaten some big servers before. He's beaten Isner, he's beaten Struff, he's beaten Kevin Anderson on hard courts. He beat Popyrin at Wimbledon. But it does depend on whether he's in the mood. Because it sounds silly to say, you know, it's a Grand Slam, you know, round 2. He should be in the mood, but you can't rely on him, can you? I think if he's in the mood and he's in form and he's feeling it, I think he's got every chance. But if he's not, he could get absolutely walloped. So
that's the danger with the 33.5 on the total, because you could lose a set 6-1 or 6-love quite easy, and that will muck you up on the total and also mucks you up on the spread as well.
He could. I've been umming and ahhing about this all day. I just feel like it's one of them that would, if he has a bad day, it could look like a very, very bad bet indeed. But if he has a good day, I think he could cause Fritz all sorts of problems. I'm tempted with the +2.5. What's the +2.5 sets on?
I've can't come out of it now. Hold on one second. You let me find it for you.
That's one option. The over games is another option. Feel like he's either going to go really close or he's going to get blown away.
Gaston +2.5 sets is -118.
Okay, I don't know whether I want to do it at odds on. That's where I'm going anyway. Maybe the overs is potentially the best option. One of those, I think, is the one to go for, depending how brave you feel. He's either going to get close or he's going to get beaten pretty heavily. But I just don't think Fritz is in the sort of form to beat anyone heavily at the minute.
I think he's a big
probably
favourite
for overs, but it's a difficult one on a very difficult day.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's got it. I think you might. I think at +575, you might be just worth having to go on the money line.
Yeah,
just hoping that Fritz has had. Well, I think we might be looking too into it.
Manage it in play. Yeah,
yeah. I just think it's
quite possible.
+575. -835 for Taylor Fritz. Do you want to bet Taylor Fritz at -835 with?
Not in the state that he's in at the minute, not in his current state. You know, I know some of the rumours maybe just be rumours about his off season and stuff, but he certainly didn't look fit against Diaz Acosta. He certainly didn't look in form against Diaz Acosta, a guy who hasn't got the greatest power in the world, similar to Gaston in many ways. But Gaston's got that real talent when he's on form.
Well, it's an interesting one, but it wouldn't surprise if Gaston at +575 was definitely a bet to hedge or to trade in play. Take the 575. If he takes the opening set, he's going to be trading around about $2. So,
he'll be backing to win the opening set because he's got a style that Fritz. I don't think Fritz will like that style if Gaston's playing his best,
and he won't like the conditions Fritz here. This is not Fritz kind of conditions.
It's going to be relatively cool, isn't it? Like 20 degrees is like a sort of not great British summer day, isn't it? Like quite cool, certainly.
Give me that today.
Well, I know it's absolutely, it's bitter, isn't it? It's horrible. But all I can say is Gaston in some way is probably the way to go there.
So hopefully you can solve the puzzle a little bit better than me, myself and Shawnee, but we're in agreement that the Taylor Fritz price at -835 is looks very not very attractive. And Gaston at plus 575 is definitely the way that we're leaning towards there. That match starts at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you head across to the Bet Rivers. And if you do place a bet, you can watch live and bet live with Bet Rivers streaming the match on your tablet or your mobile phone. The next match is the evening match. It's tomorrow. It's 3 a.m. on the early hours of Wednesday morning Eastern time. It's the evening match in Australia, and it's the big match of the day. It's Stefanos Tsitsipas at minus 590, the beaten finalist here. Last year, he's up against Jordan Thompson, the local lad. They're going to have a huge amount of support from the Aussies fans. Always very, very popular, Thompson, and always the Aussies always get behind their players. And this could be a test for Tsitsipas, because the last time they met was in 2023 in Indian Wells. In what
I was there.
Was it slow that? No, it was. It was
Indian Wells is slow, yeah.
So it's very slow and very similar conditions here today. And
he did have a problem though, didn't he? That day, Tsitsipas, he had a shoulder.
He's had a problem every day at the end of the last. It's called Badosa. That's what the problem is. 7-6.
I think that was pre-Badosa. He had a shoulder issue that day, if I remember rightly. He had that shoulder issue for a little while, didn't he? I think that was what was going on there.
He does lead the head-to-head 2-1 though, Tsitsipas, but Thompson did win that match that Sean was at last time in Indian Wells. So what do you think here, Sean?
I think Thompson's been in great form lately. You know, beating Rafael Nadal, all right, it's not a peak Rafael Nadal, but that's got to give you massive confidence. My concern with Jordan Thompson is I'm not sure how fit he is. He had a problem against Musetti in Adelaide a week or so ago with a groin issue. Couldn't really move very well. And I was and ahhing whether to back Vukic against him in round one, purely on the basis of the injury. But he's gone out and played 5 sets, won it 6-4 in the 5th against Vukic. Tsitsipas has also had injury problems, hasn't he? Back problems and what have you. He was a little bit fortunate in a way that Zizou Bergs melted down in the heat in round one, because Bergs, I think, took the first set, didn't he? And then he just didn't have anything left. He started cramping up, and Tsitsipas won it pretty easy in the end. I think what will help Jordan Thompson here is the fact that he's shown more willingness recently to come into the net. He's going to try and rush that Tsitsipas backhand. We'll see how successful he is at that. If we look at the stats, last 12 months, main level on outdoor hard, Thompson's are pretty good. His service points won and return points won total is 101. That's better than Musetti that I mentioned earlier. Tsitsipas is ahead on 105, but it's not a massive chasm between them. It's enough for me to suggest that Tsitsipas, assuming that he's fit, is going to be the first leg of my big price parlay today. That is a set betting score, 3-1 to Tsitsipas. I think he'll win it with a little bit of difficulty, but handily enough. 3-1, 3.25 plus 225 at Bet River. That's first leg of a small half-point parlay today.
Yeah, Tsitsipas 3-1, 225 with Bet Rivers. Sean's parlay, we come on to that in a minute. So that's an Australian up against Tsitsipas, the former, the finalist last year, wasn't he, Tsitsipas?
Yeah.
He's got a lot of support behind him, Thompson here, and I think he's going to give Tsitsipas some problems, and he has beat him the last time they met. The next match sees another Australian in action. The final match we're going to cover here today. It's Alex de Minaur up against Arnaldi. De Minaur is a heavy favourite at number 10 seed, in minus 480, arguably playing some of the best tennis of his career. Coming into the tournament, he beat Fritz, he beat Djokovic, he beat Zverev. And he beat Raonic in round one, but Raonic did have to retire during the match. Arnaldi is plus 360 here, but Arnaldi's looked quite good against Walton, another Aussie in the round one. This is a big up from Walton to play de Minaur. The handicap is 6.5, spread is 6.5. De Minaur receiving 6, giving up 6.5 is plus 104. Arnaldi receiving 6.5, a heavy favourite at minus 132. And the total here is 35.5 with over minus 109, under minus 117. The conditions will, I would think, suit the Italian here, Arnaldi. He's seen a bit of money for him actually in the build up to this match. His Clay's form last year was exceptional. He won 23 of his 30 matches. It's going to be a lot slower. You would expect Arnaldi to be more suited by the conditions, but de Minaur is in some great form. Heavy favourite, but I think it's a difficult ask for this one.
I think he should win it, de Minaur, but again, I don't think he's going to win this easily. He's certainly the right favourite. But the way that he plays de Minaur, he does have to play his best tennis to win matches, and to win them comfortably. He's got to play a very clean match. It's not like he has a big weapons to kind of rely on. You know, big serve, big forehand. That'll win me a lot of service games. That's not de Minaur's game. He has to win a lot of it on solidity and court craft and fitness and tenacity and all those things. It's not as easy as people think to play like that way all the time. It's difficult to keep that intensity up as well over the best of 5 sets. These two have got a similar kind of differential to Tsitsipas and Thompson in terms of their data over the last 12 months at main level. Minaur, it's got the same service points won and return points won total as Tsitsipas, actually 105, and Arnaldi's on at 100, which is very respectable as well. And both have won the same percentage of second serve points, 54% of second serve points. Both these guys have won last 12 months at main level. Both of them held serve around 81% of the time, so closely matched on those stats. De Minaur has a better return game, which is probably what will win him this match. But I think he would be absolutely delighted to win this one 3-0. De Minaur. I'm not convinced that he's going to do it. Arnaldi's a player who's on an upward trajectory at the moment, isn't he? He's we'll see how far it can take him, but he's certainly a player on the up. So I think he'll win a set. I don't think he'll win the match. I think De Minaur will probably win it eventually. But again, this is the second leg of my parlay, 3-1 to De Minaur here. It's plus 240 chance with Bet River. So the parlay should pay just a squeak over 10-1.
So give us the parlay, Sean, the 10-1 parlay.
Yeah, so De Minaur to beat Arnaldi by 3-1, and Tsitsipas to beat Thompson also by 3-1. That will pay you 10-1, just a squeak over 10-1 with Bet Rivers.
And what we having on that, half a unit or quarter of a
unit?
Half
a unit, yeah. It's just a small play, but I really find today very difficult to make a confident and sound case for any of the underdogs. I'd be kind of hoping and kind of guessing a little bit, not guessing, but trying to second guess some things that, and it's just too difficult. So I've gone for the 3-1 favourites.
It is a very, very difficult day of tennis action on round 2 in Melbourne at the first major of 2024, the Australian Open. Remember that offer that Bet Rivers are doing? They're offering a live profit boost every day of the Australian Open. When you place a wager of at least $25 during a match, you'll receive a 20% profit boost. Limit 1 per day every day of the tournament. See the Bet Rivers website for full details on the Australian Open. Bet and get. And remember, watch live and bet live with Bet Rivers. You'll be able to live stream any of the matches you place a wager on your tablet or your mobile phone or your laptop from the comfort of your own home. Okay, that's it. It's show number 200. So thank you all again for watching all the shows. Please keep subscribing. We're looking to get 2,000 subscribers. There's some brilliant content coming out. There's a European show which was hit record heights on views last week. The Premier League boys, myself, Jack Wright, and Dan Roebuck had a great week. Jack in particular cashed so many massive price tickets. Brilliant content coming your way. Lots of tennis action. Sean will be back with me tomorrow. Hopefully the card tomorrow will be a little bit more exciting, Sean, than it was today.
I think there's a few more options tomorrow from what I've seen so far.
And keep the teeth in the mouth. That's the big key. Make sure
they're still in by the end of the tournament. I'll be happy.
Yeah, don't eat any toffees. And if they're gold teeth and things aren't bad, don't take. Yeah, well, don't be eating that, please. We need your teeth in. Don't take that out and days out melt that gold and try to get some money because gold's expensive now. So don't be doing that if things are quite bad. Remember to follow us on our socials at Because We Win on Twitter and on Instagram. X now, it's not Twitter. And subscribe to the Betting Weekly Studios. As I said, we're just short of 2,000. Please go on there, give us a subscribe. We want to get a subscribe, like, comment, give us a views on anything you have there, and download our podcast, Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, on your preferred podcast provider and whoever provides your podcasts. Okay, that's been it. Just a very difficult day. Just one parlay, but it's a big parlay. Let's cash that ticket. It's 10-1 parlay, 3-1 De Minaur to beat Arnaldi, and 3-1 Tsitsipas to beat Thompson. Sean, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good day. All the best.